cast, they leave. But they don't take the time to try and figure out what's going on under the surface.
We'll sit there, do 5 of those drifts and not catch one fish and just go. They'll just keep going to the next spot. Right. Not me. I'm staying there.
You have that moment with all sorts of species of fish where you realize you are not the one that's got the upper hand in the fight, and I realized that very quickly. That fish, it took off, it dug my rod tip right into the water.
Hello and welcome to the Salt Strong live stream and podcast. I am your host, Rich Natoli, and as usual, I am joined by the very lovely, very talented Ed Gobo, owner of Captain Hank's Tackle. Ed, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Rich. What's going on?
I'm really excited for this one. This is and let's set a little background. It's going to be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Ed and I have talked numerous times about bringing somebody on or multiple people on to talk about kind of like the trip of a lifetime, the trips that we all wish we could take for fishing. And we tried a couple of times and people kind of flaked out a little bit. But we have a great one tonight. We have from ADFD Angling on YouTube and Instagram. We have Erik Cohen coming on in just a few moments, and he's going to talk about Amazon. Right? Amazon?
Not the package people.
Not the package people.
Useless junk.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut back on that, but his trip to fish the Amazon. And this is one that is going to apply to everybody, whether you live in Galveston, Texas, or you live up in Boston, Massachusetts, or if you live in the middle of Idaho. You are going to, if you love fishing, this is going to be something that's going to be awesome to look at. So we're going to bring him on in a moment. Ed, you ever thought about going to the Amazon?
When they're late for my packages, yes, but to fish, no.
Yeah, there are some species in there that I would love to get on. And
these photos and the video that he made it's out of this world.
It's crazy. So we're going to bring Erik on in just a moment. Just want to say hello and thanks to everybody tuning in live. This is going to be a fun one. So make sure you're putting your questions in chat if you have any questions about it. And this is just going to be 3 dudes talking fishing in Brazil on the Amazon. So with that said, let's bring on the other lovely and talented personality on the show, Erik Cohen. Erik, welcome to the stream.
Thank you, guys. I was prepared to talk for an hour about Amazon, the shipping company, like Ed said. So I don't have anything.
We could do another if you work for them.
We could do another episode if you want.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
This is great. And full disclosure, I know Erik. I fished on his boat with him. Tried to fish on his other boat with him, and we got blown out on that day. That was a sporty day.
That was a day when I knew in the back of my mind that the forecast was not favorable, and we tried it anyway, and we made it a quarter mile. Northeast wind, whatever they predict for northeast wind, you can double the waves, and that was true that day.
Yeah, it was vicious. But welcome on. So we're going to talk about your trip and what we're calling the trip of a lifetime. And this is one of those destinations that I think most people would at least have an interest in learning about, if not actually going down and jumping on the river and going out and fishing for all of these multiple species. I'm looking in the chat and I see James Flynn in there. I'm sure he would love to be heading down there at any time to go fishing. So I want to start off, if this works, guys, bear with me on this because we've had some challenges with this in the recent past, but I want to share my screen here. And this is the best that we can do right now. Let's start at the beginning. Let's start walking through a little bit of this. This is the plane that you traveled all the way from Newark, all the way down to the
No. No, this is the charter plane that we took within Brazil. So we flew to a city called Manaus. That's a city of about 2 million people. I think it's the biggest city in the Amazon, in the state of Amazonas, which is in Brazil. We took a commercial flight there, but the plane you're looking at now is I think it holds about 15, 20 passengers. And that's the plane we took from Manaus about an hour, a little over an hour, to a town called Barcelos. And that Barcelos is like the jumping off point for a lot of these trips for Amazon fishermen. Whether you're going to a lodge like I did, or whether you're going on a houseboat like a lot of people do. Their houseboats are everywhere there. Houseboats meaning like a group like ours spends the week on the boat, and you fish on little skiffs from that mothership.
So I noticed a couple of interesting things. First of all, it was it was a 12-hour flight, just the one leg.
Well, it's 12 hours total.
Okay.
It's about 5 from Newark, New Jersey, about 5 to Panama City, and about 4 from Panama to Brazil, but a layover in there. So about 12 hours together.
Gotcha. And then I noticed the houseboats and the floating houses, really. They're not going anywhere. They're just floating. And I noticed that you guys didn't slow down. And I'm wondering how those things handle those wakes, because you guys are cruising up the river and there's this thing literally at water level. I was thinking, oh my gosh, could you imagine if you did that in South Jersey?
That never even occurred to me until you just said it. That was a tour. That was a tourist boat we were on just for the day. That wasn't part of the fishing trip. But yeah, I guess they have to deal with that because those tour boats are in and out of there constantly.
Yeah, they were flying up there. So the whole thing was set up how? So let's get the basic background of the trip. You didn't just pick up one day and say, grab a buddy and just say, hey, let's just go to South America and hit the Amazon.
Not exactly. A friend of mine had a trip that he was invited to go on as someone he worked with about a year ago, and we were all set to go on that trip, and it didn't work out. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the trip was canceled. So at that point, we got excited about going. So we started to research other outfits that do these trips. So through a lot of research, social media, and talking to a bunch of people, we kind of did some phone interviews and things like that. And we found one that we were really happy with. I'll give a shout out to Lucas. I'm wearing his hat.
Yep.
From Jungle Fishing. That's the host company. They do the tours. And I'd like to give him a plug at the end too for his company, because you're going to a foreign country. It's not a third world country. It's a developing country, but I don't speak. They speak Portuguese there. I don't speak Portuguese. I thought Portuguese was a little bit like Spanish. That was pretty naive of me. There's almost no similarities. So it was not. I could get along with basic Spanish. It didn't help me in Brazil.
No.
But yes, you're going to a country like that. Lucas is Brazilian. And he speaks the language. He's done these trips before. He knows all the people. So I can't stress that enough, to go with someone that knows this, and has a reputation and knows the lodge that you're going to and things like that.
It's funny you mentioned you didn't know Portuguese. So my brother-in-law is Portuguese.
Okay.
And my other brother-in-law and I like to say Spanish words or German words to him just to tick him off. He's like, it's not the same. It's close.
And our guide, just to jump ahead a little bit, our guide, who we spent 6 days on the water with, did not speak much English and did not speak much Spanish. So it's tough to communicate. You learn, you spend 10 hours a day with this person, so you learn to communicate, but it was not easy.
Speaking the universal language of fishing.
Yeah,
you're pointing at the spot and pointing at the lure, and you're like, "Yep, let's not hang it up in the tree. Let's get it right in that spot."
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so we decided we were comfortable with Lucas and his company to go on his trip, and that's what we wound up doing. I mean, there's tons of different places you can go with, and you can go, like I said, you can do a lodge, you can do a floating boat. Brazil's it's a huge country. It's almost as big as the US. So there's a ton of different river systems you can fish, different target species. So there's a lot to research there. It's a big place.
Yeah. So for the people that are watching, if you're listening to the podcast, I'm sorry, you can look it up online, or you can go back and watch it on YouTube if you want to see what this looks like. But this is the lodge. So you're talking, you don't have a lot of pictures here of the lodge itself. However, it looked pretty nice, if you ask me. It looked like you had, and the inside, you can see this all in the video, people. If you go to the YouTube channel that I gave earlier, the inside of the lodge looked amazing. It looked like you guys could just hang out at the bar for the full. How long were you there? Was it a week?
Yes. I think it was 6 days fishing. I think it was 7 nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could have stayed in there and been happy the entire time if there was no fishing around, but
that's one of the benefits of this place. You can go to the Amazon and you can have pretty bad fishing and you can have pretty bad conditions. We knew at least we're going to have really nice accommodations, which we did.
Yeah, it looked like it was nice. And then you had the boats that you were on. Go through that if you would. So there were a total, the camp can hold 28 anglers at any given time.
Yeah.
And everybody, was it just 2 people per boat?
Correct. Two anglers, 1 guide. They have 14 bass boats there. They're powered with 115 horsepower Mercuries. That was another reason why we selected this place, because you are spending more time fishing, less time running. We passed not a lot. We passed other boats. There's other lodges in that area, not too many, but there occasionally you would see another boat and we would fly right by them. And that made me feel good because we're almost going twice the speed. So more time fishing.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I found that interesting that they use bass boats and not, standard center console.
No, because they get into some pretty tight spaces in shallow water. So I didn't see any center consoles there. It's either bass boats or John boats with an outboard on it. That's what they fish with down there.
Okay. And how was the current? I'm asking all these. I really want to know, how was the current? Because they have those trolling motors on the front, just like a regular bass boat. But
the current's deceiving. You don't see it a lot, but it's there. You get into a few lagoons where there's not much current at all. But I mean, the river's moving pretty good, and when you're in the main channel, it's moving. It's almost like maybe like a Delaware River type of flow, maybe a little slower. Yeah.
No, yes. I'm somewhat ignorant to the Amazon, but is it like tidal or is it freshwater?
No tide at all. I'm 1,000 miles from the ocean.
Okay.
It's more based on rainfall. The rain can affect some of the currents. So not tidal at all. Yeah.
Okay.
And you were there. The one question was in there. What time of the year was this trip? You just got back a week or 2 ago, right?
1 month ago. I've been back a month.
1 month. Okay.
Yeah. We did late January to early February. That's one of the recommended times for this particular area for dry conditions. We didn't have such dry conditions, but that's one of the recommended times.
Okay. But the water, I did see in the video, the water level was down about 30 feet.
Well, from the high season. In fact, I just saw on the lodge's Instagram page today, they closed. They're done for the season. They won't reopen, I think, until August. The rains are going to start to come. The water will come up 20, 30, 40 feet. And so that's it for that area. It's a seasonal type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go in and let me pull up a couple of these pics. Let's go into some of the fishing. Well, actually, as I scroll through these, let me just add them to the stream here. So there was some fun that you were having after the day of fishing. I assume that there's some drinks hidden in there. Yeah, there's some drinks in there.
Yes.
So let's start talking about,
but there was a lot of drinks.
Yeah. Let's start talking about some of the fish. So what are we looking at here?
This is called a triara triera. This is a wolffish. And
that's the one on the right, correct?
They're the same thing.
They are.
Yeah, they're wolffish. That's probably the second or third most common fish that we caught down there. They sit on the bottom. They've got some real nasty teeth, but they're fun because they'll hit topwater lures. And it's like a really quick, lightning fast attack on the surface. These guys are not huge, so they're not like a real strong fighting fish, but there is another species that gets pretty big. We didn't see it. I don't know if they're in the area that we fish, but we ate these 2 guys. They're pretty good. We had a riverside lunch one day. The guides carry in the boat. They carry grilling materials. They carry those umbrellas you saw, the beach chairs. So if we ask and they cook these fish for us, it's a little bit different than what we're used to at home. Pretty graphic, but these fish were alive, and they kept them in the live well until lunchtime. And they, I guess we're more humane. We kill our fish before we butcher them.
Right.
The guys were scaling these fish, and they were still alive. It was kind of gross to watch, but they were still alive. And then they killed them after they're scaled. I don't know.
That's like what is it in Japan where they cook the live fish?
Yes.
Oh, I don't get that. Yeah.
No. Well, these guys are dead
when they or something.
I don't know what it's called.
When they went on the grill, they were dead. But it was
yeah. I call it something I'm never going to order. I don't need that. Okay, let's take a look at. Well, you didn't catch that.
No.
You're swimming with the dolphins.
Those are pink freshwater dolphins. They were much more common than I expected. You hear them and see them while you're fishing, and if you catch a big fish, a big peacock bass in the area of these dolphins, they're wise to fishermen. They know you're there, and they're almost waiting for you to release a tired out fish. And we did have a couple guys on our trip where the dolphins did attack the released fish and ate them. So if you get a prize fish, a trophy fish, or any fish where there's dolphins around, they'll put it in they'll put the peacock bass in the live well, and they'll wait till you get to a location closer to the beach or somewhere where you can safely release it and it's not going to get attacked.
Yeah, it sounds like Florida. What is it? Luke Simons has said a couple of times that he keeps an eye out for the dolphins because they'll just hang out right under the boat, and then they won't release the fish on that side, or one person will pretend they're going to, and then they'll throw it off the other side, at least to give it a fighting chance to get away.
Yeah.
Which I assume they usually don't. So let's talk about these pictures here, because this shows the two, and you did most of your filming, or were these on the days that you were filming as well? Because you filmed, I think you said 2 days of your trip. Yeah, one was nice and one wasn't. I can tell which one it was.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. One, we didn't have. We were pretty lucky. It didn't really rain at all until the last day. It rained almost the whole day. But I had heard, we always have a rain jacket on the boat, because I had heard that. And I think it's more common to have a passing shower. It'll rain for a short period of time, and then the sun will come out. But on this particular day, with the picture on my right, it rained almost the whole day, and that happened to be our best fishing day too. It was really good topwater action that day, the best of the week.
Man, it looks like some nice fish, and you can see the bass boat there. I want to mention, for those that are in the chat, we have a local expert for the Brazil fishing in there right now. So if you want to look for some information as we go along, Silas Fisherman SF actually is from that area and has some decent commentary going on in the chat. So I appreciate that, Silas. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look right here. So I'm not familiar with what the heck you caught here. So I'm going to ask, and I wanted to ask this. Were you specifically targeting different species when you were out there, or were you just out there catching whatever was going to hit the hook?
We're out there to catch a trophy peacock bass, and in this part of Brazil, I don't know about other parts. Well, the species that we're after, which is the previous picture, right, in a different color morph, but yeah. So this one, you can see those black bars on underneath those spots. They lose those spots. The same fish, and they'll get that yellow pretty color with the black bars will be much more prominent.
Yeah,
they measure everything in centimeters there. So the goal for all the guys is an 80 centimeter fish. That's considered a trophy fish. For us, that's about a 31-inch fish, about 15 to 20 pounds. So 80 centimeters is the trophy. So that's what we're trying to catch. I didn't catch any that week. But we also wanted to catch, I personally wanted to get as many different species as we could. And I think among our group, our boat got the most species, which I was happy about.
And did you fish with the same guy every day?
Yes. On the right, holding that kind of purplish redfish is my friend Marcello. That's he was my roommate for the trip and my partner on the fishing boat as well.
Very good. And what kind of fish is that he's holding?
They call it a jacunda. It's also, there's many species of jacunda, and it's also, for anyone who keeps aquarium fish, it's a popular family of what they call pike cichlids. They can be really tiny, and they can be bigger than these guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah. On the left is a different type of variety of peacock bass called a butterfly peacock bass.
Man, go ahead, Ed.
So I know before you were going on this trip, you had contacted me about some jig head stuff and things like that, and you were making your own. Did you get a chance to use the stuff that you made?
Yeah, I did. Hold on. I have those. So as you start talking about it, let me find it, and then I'll bring it up on the screen here.
I did, and it caused me some heartbreak in the last day. I'll talk about that.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I sent you that picture.
No, you did. Well, okay. You sent me a picture. Here you go. This is what
Yeah.
happens to bucktails down there.
Yeah, so this is I have one next to the computer, but this is and I have another video making these on my YouTube channel. But this is a very these bucktails with the extended tail here and a rattle. I hope that comes through. They're extremely popular when there's not a lot of action on the surface and topwater. They all fish these bucktails. This is half ounce. They fish anywhere from usually half ounce is the right size. I made some that were 3/8 ounce. They were a little hard to cast. You want that half ounce for casting, but that one that you had in the picture, this is the exact jig here. I had a fish on the last day you can see that hook. It's straightened out. It's almost like a J shape. I'm sorry, it's almost like an L shape. It was
L shape, yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those trophy fish straighten that out like nothing. People told me that they could do that, and I was skeptical because you think about a 31-inch fish where we all fish. 31-inch bass. It's not going to straighten out a hook. No way, not even close. So I underestimated the power of those fish, and it was hard to sleep that night.
Let me just draw your attention to Ed's face right now. He's thinking my hook wouldn't have bent. Go ahead, Ed. Admit it.
We talked some things.
Yeah.
I don't know what the final consensus was and what you ended up going with, but
well, it's hard to find. This is tied on a 4X 6.0, I think it is, or 7.0 jig head. That seems to be they're stronger. It was hard to find anything stronger than in half ounce. But when I go back, I'll have to make some more.
Well, I'll set you up with some stuff.
Okay.
There it is. You got to play your cards right, Erik.
Yeah.
We can tie him. He's going to be the new bucktail tire. So.
Yeah, but all you have to say is, Ed, I'm sure your stuff would have been out too, and he'd have it shipped over to you the next day so that you could be tying on top
and
of
delivered.
I've seen some pictures of broken hooks with these big fish, bent hooks. So they're really, it's amazing their strength. I mean, even the little guys are pretty strong.
Yeah, so I do want to point that out. I mean, they massacred that hook.
Mm-hmm.
It does look so pretty. When you sent these pictures, Erik, I was like, that's a really nice tie job. And then I saw this other one. I was like, ooh, that one hurt.
That was one fish. That was just one fish.
Man, and was it a peacock? Were you able to see it?
I never saw it, but this was like in my final hour or 2 hours of the last day. We casted. I was throwing topwater, and you can tell by the wake that the fish make. There was some significant wake, kind of like it didn't want to commit to that topwater, but you just can tell. Yeah. By the wake, there was something significant under there. So that's typically we have multiple rods ready on the boat because there's no time to retie and put a jig on. So I have a rod with the topwater, a rod with a jig. I had 2 fly rods. So you want to be able to just grab a rod and cast. That's what I did. I grabbed the other rod with the jig head on it, but it was not meant to be. I had the fish on for a short amount of time. It was definitely big trophy peacock bass.
Yeah, it was too late at that point. And what I did see is the one picture that you included was the guy selling the lures, and then you also sent a picture of the tackle shop that had a ton of lures. And I was thinking, and the fact that you just mentioned you had the 2 fly rods just says that it's not true. I was thinking you were buying your gear down there so you didn't have to bring your stuff with you, but you brought all of your gear with you, right?
Most of it I did, but I was one of the only ones. Most of the 14 guys in our group did not. The lodge has rods you can use and lures you can use. I like to use my own stuff, but they all fish bait casters down there. I brought spinning rods.
Yeah.
So that was my own choosing. I brought my reels. And I brought one rod, a St. Croix 3-piece travel rod, which I could fit in my suitcase. And I bought a rod at that tackle store in Manaus.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I have 2 really nice 1-piece rods. They're like 7'6". I use them at home here for casting. I really wanted to bring those. Those are my best casting rods. And you're making pretty far casts with these topwater plugs. But when I weighed out the risk of the airlines losing them or breaking them, I decided to just bring a 3-piece travel rod and buy a rod there.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. That to me would have been That would have ruined the trip if I had brought one of my favorite rods. But you were also in the video casting really well, and it looked like you were very comfortable with the setup. But I guess that's why.
That rod, that's the rod that most of the video I'm using, that rod that I got in Brazil. That is a 5'8" rod. So it was not easy to cast plugs. They use very short rods there. I couldn't find. I'm used to fishing like a 7 foot or 7'6",
Yeah.
5'8", I think it was. Not easy to throw a plug. You really had to, but it was very lightweight. And I'll just say, the 2 reels that I brought my own reels. I brought my Stratic 4000 and I brought my Van Staal VR50. Both of those reels are under 10 ounces. I think they're 8 or 9 ounces in weight. And when you're casting for 10 hours a day, you don't want heavy. I didn't get tired from casting, but you got to bring light reels. They can handle it.
So I shouldn't bring my vintage pen from the 1990s.
Not if it's more than 10, 11 ounces, I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's more like 30 ounces, I think.
No,
These things are heavy.
Leave that home.
Yeah.
Plus, you have a weight limit on that airplane that you showed in the beginning. You're only allowed 15 kilograms, about 30 pounds. So, I had 2 reels, 2 spinning reels, 2 fly reels. I had a fly rod. You don't need to bring a lot of clothes because the lodge does laundry every day. But you got your basic stuff, your toiletries and your clothes. And so, yeah, you got to watch. You got to be aware of that.
I was actually surprised in the video when you panned forward to all the guys getting on ahead of you. I was like, there's no way that plane's taking off. There's no way. Because it was all the guys wearing the yellow. So you were all together.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way.
They were some big guys on that trip.
I was a little nervous when you were landing. I was like, it's going to pop the tires on this thing.
The thought crossed my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure it did because it definitely crossed mine.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Another peacock. There's some nice fish in here.
Yeah, this is the peacock, the spotted one. They call that a paca, and I explained that on the video and on my Instagram page. There's a local rodent called a paca, which has similar white markings, so that's why they call it a paca. And on the right is that another wolffish. He's got a topwater plug in his mouth.
That's crazy.
Yeah, really cool.
There is a question. What's your YouTube channel again? So it's ADFD Angling. And that is for Silas Fisherman, one of our Brazil natives. Let's talk about the fish on the left here, Erik.
Yeah, we caught 2 different species of piranha. And I'm also, one of my other hobbies is aquariums, and I know a couple of guys I showed these pictures to, they were like, oh, it's this species. I don't know what species it is. I don't know my piranha ID, but this is one of 2 different piranha species that we got. The first and only one I think I caught was with a jig, I believe, when we were fishing for bass. And I was really excited. It was one of the fish I wanted to catch. The guy thought I was a little bit crazy because they consider them pests down there.
Right.
I'll show you. I'm having trouble with my camera here, but this is one of those jigs with the extended tail.
Yeah.
This tail was bit off, clean off by a piranha. So it should have the extended tail like this.
Right.
You see that in the camera?
Yep.
Okay. So this tail was bit clean off, and then also you could see some of the actual bucktail was bit off. That's from a piranha.
So how big was it? Like, I was surprised to see that you caught a piranha because even the larger ones aren't. I mean, they're not eating that bucktail, right? They're not getting that hook.
No, their mouths are not very big. They go after them and they'll bite them. They'll bite the bucktail, the hair off,
like a puffer fish.
Yeah. I mean, they're the ones I caught. One day we just decided the river was pretty high. We just decided to do some catfishing with bait. So we anchored up and just threw some big pieces of bait out there on not on the rods we brought in, some big setups with heavy. They have some giant catfish in those rivers, but you're sitting there waiting for the rod to bend down. So I took a little 1/4 ounce jig head out of my box, and I was cutting up some small pieces of our cut bait that we had and just sending it down to the bottom, and the piranhas are on it right away. It was fun. I mean, I had a good time with it.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you did that either.
It was like togging.
No.
Yeah.
Gotta try it once.
Yeah. And there's a lot, the whole bottom of that river system well, at least where I was fishing is submerged trees. I mean, it's even when I was dropping it down for piranhas, I mean, I lost a lot of jig heads because as soon as you go down, I mean, there's submerged roots and all kinds of stuff down there. A lot of structure.
There's your catfish up there. Right? On the right?
I don't see it.
No?
It's not on the screen, Rich.
Let me try it again. Let me get back to it here.
Yeah, on the one on the left, I've gotten some different feedback on. We call the guides called it a bacuda. It's like a little freshwater barracuda. They also are like torpedoes. They hit the topwater lures. They have some pretty nasty teeth as well. There's another species of bacuda that we didn't catch that doesn't have those kind of fangs. They jump like a tarpon. Really cool. I mean, I don't get, at least the ones we caught weren't huge. But it was, for me, it was just another species. So I was happy catching it. I think it's another one that the guides are like, I think it's a pest. They want you to catch the big peacocks. They don't want these other distractions. And the catfish is called I think it's a pirarara or piraiba. I forget which one is which, but that's a juvenile. They get about, I've seen some pictures of those fish as big as I am.
Man, well, so my entire experience with the Amazon is river monsters.
Okay.
which is I'm not embarrassed to say, because I think that's probably what your experience was before actually heading down there as well.
Yeah.
So there's the one species that I don't see in any of the pictures, the arapaima, right?
They're not in that section of the river, or if they are, it's very rare. But there's plenty of other river systems where you can fish for them.
Weren't they? They were in the video. Oh, that was the tourist attraction where you were feeding them by hand, right? Well, by line.
It's a string with a dead fish on it. Yeah, but pretty amazing. I mean, but no, we didn't see any of those. I'm sure they're occasionally around, but not the area we were.
All right. Let's see. So why don't you take us through? Oh, there are some of the teeth. Yep, here they come.
Yeah, that's a bacuda mouth, and on the right is a butterfly peacock bass. Now, I'll just mention, if anybody knows, the peacock bass you catch in Florida, they call them butterfly peacock bass, but it's not the same species as you're looking at there. It's two different species of peacock bass. The ones in Florida are from I think they're from a different area of South America as well, and they're more cold tolerant. If these fish could tolerate more cold, you'd probably see them all in Florida, but I don't think they would survive some of those cold snaps. These ones that I caught here in this part of Brazil.
So did they give you, what was the signal that he gave you when you were reeling in a fish, telling you whether you could lip it or if you needed the grips?
I just knew. I mean, a peacock bass, or I don't know if you saw a couple of the pictures. I have a little red cover on my thumb. Yeah. Because if they shake, they don't have sharp teeth. But it's like an abrasive sandpaper, more like a striper almost. But if you catch a bunch of stripers, your thumb's going to get raw. Same thing with these fish. But piranhas, obviously, you're not putting your hand near their mouth. The wolffish, the bacuda, that was it.
Now, but how would you know? Is my point.
I just know from just doing a lot of research and just I don't know.
Gotcha.
I watched a ton of YouTube videos over the last 6 to 8 months. When I was in my exercising in the gym, that's all I had was YouTube videos from different parts of Brazil. I tried to real zero in on, pay real close attention to how they were casting, what kind of lures they were using. I tried to be as prepared as I could. I wanted to maximize my 6 days on the river there.
Well, you were in the top boat for the week, or might have been the top boat. So
for species, not for size.
well, you can't always get both.
We did have a few in our group of 14. I think we had 4 or 5 fish of 80 centimeters or more. So we had some nice fish caught.
Yeah. Well, you know, awesome. I thought that this one was getting up close to the 30. No, that's my trickery of the camera.
Okay. Yeah, it's not even. I mean, it was my best fish, but it was not. I don't know what it was in inches, but it was probably 5-6 inches short of that.
Oh, really? That's beautiful fish, though.
Yeah, they're awesome.
That was a fun one.
So why don't you take us through? So there are probably some people that are like, all right, but what's it really like? So why don't you take everybody through what's the typical day like from start to finish when you're at one of these? And what was the camp called again, or the lodge?
It's called Amazon Explorer. Explore with an X. XPLOR. Yeah. So you have the guide. You have the same guide all week, and you have that guide from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m, as much or as little as you want to use them. They have to be off the water by 6 p.m. and you can start at 6 a.m. We would typically start around 7 and come back around 5. It's hard. I started to really feel it in my back by the 4th or 5th day. I mean, it's a lot of casting, and you get cramped up, and but 10 hours a day. It was great for me. Marcello, who shared the boat with me, he was not as hardcore as I am, so it might have been too much for him. But yeah, that's a typical day. You have breakfast at the lodge. You order some sandwiches, which they pack up for you, and you can take some sandwiches, some fruit, snacks. They'll pack it up for you. You bring it on the boat with you. You can eat anytime you want. When you come back around 5, there's always some food there. You get cleaned up. I think they serve dinner around 7:30, and everybody's pretty wiped out by, you can hang out after dinner outside, chat about fishing, have a cigar, whatever. But everybody's pretty beat by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And we were going to bed. I don't think I was up past 10 any night. So it's not like a party at night. You're pretty wiped out. I mean, you're at the equator. It's hot. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't as humid as I thought, but you're at the equator. It's hot. So you're wiped out.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What was the temperatures like, and even the water temperatures? What is that?
The water's really warm. The air temperature, I would say, was in the mid to upper 80s. Humidity, it's like our summer. The humidity never really bothered me. I found myself in the sunnier days, like I do at home when I'm fishing in the ocean. I dip my hat in the water and put it back on my head. It cools you off. But this water is like 80 plus degrees. So it wasn't that much of a relief to dip your hat in the water. The water is very brown. It's like a tannin stained water, almost like a reddish color. I don't have it handy, but I had this bright white, I think it was 30 pound braid on my spinning reels. And it's amazing how much it discolored that white braid. It's like brown orange now.
Brown.
Yeah. So, but the water's very, I'll just mention this if anybody's curious. The water's also extremely acidic. So a lot of people ask me about the bugs. I think I had 2 mosquito bites all week. The mosquitoes is not really a factor. Their eggs can't reproduce in that acidic water. So mosquitoes, not an issue. There are some bees that buzz around. They buzz by your head. They're annoying, but they don't bother you. So that was really, a lot of people were curious about the bugs.
But okay, so it's like 90-degree brown staining acidic water.
85-ish, yeah. Yeah.
And you're dipping your hat in there.
Yeah.
Man.
We would try, like on the hot days, we'd try, like there's plenty of ice on the boat, so we put some ice in our hat. But look, I didn't want to keep lathering on sunscreen every couple hours, so I wore long pants and I wore long sleeve UV shirt. It was okay. It wasn't too bad.
That's a long day, though. I mean, 7. So look, everybody here fishes 7. Probably wouldn't complain to 7 to 5, but 6 days in a row.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And how many days? And what was the rain like? What was the sunny days like? What was the entire week like? How did it go weather-wise for you? Were you in the middle of everything?
Most of the days we had no rain, which I was surprised about because I thought we would get rain every day. And then it made up for it on the final day. It rained pretty much from like 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, nonstop, pretty heavy. You can see in some of the videos on that I posted. Some of the rain was heavy. I don't like the rain. I don't like fishing in the rain. But in my mind, I'm telling myself constantly, this is it. This is my last day here. I'm not going back early. I'm going to fish, and okay, so I'll get soaked. I don't care. Tomorrow I'm going home. So I stayed out in it, and it was great fishing.
Was it the best day?
It was the best day. Yeah. Yeah, and they told us that it would be the best day when it rains. They said that's sometimes the best fishing.
Really?
Yeah.
It probably upsets the thermocline of the water and gets the fish more active.
Yeah, I don't know if it gets them more in tune to what's going on the surface. I mean, the topwater lures that we use, this is one of them. They make a lot of noise. They're much louder than the ones we use at home.
Yeah,
a lot more rattles in there. So they like that. They like that disturbance. I mean, it's like this, and they're about the same size. This is a skitter walk that I use at home. Can you see that?
If you hold it in front of you.
How's that?
Yep.
Okay. So they're almost the same size as a Rapala skitter walk, these ones that we use. But the skitter walk has like a single marble. It's not a lot.
It's like a knock.
Yeah, these things are really loud. So they seem to respond to that commotion. They like that surface disturbance.
Well, with that tannic water, I mean, what was the visibility in the water? Did you have feet? Did you have inches?
I would say feet. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. If you were in an area of 5-6 feet and you look down at certain places that were a sandy bottom, you could see trees and you could see stuff on the bottom. Yeah.
It's like our cedar water up here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was out fishing in our cedar water up here last week, and it was about 8 inches that you could see. Okay. I was not happy with that when I got out there. That was striped bass opening day. I was like, come on. Man, I had to upsize the lures to get the biggest paddle tail I could in there. I was putting scent all over. I went through like $10 in scent in one trip. It was like $1 per fish. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about the taxes. Well, actually, before we get to that, how deep was the water typically when you were fishing for these guys?
I think typically where the boat is situated in, I would guess a couple of times I sent my rod tip down just to see. I was curious. And sometimes it would touch, sometimes it wouldn't. So my guess is that the boat's sitting in 4 to 10 feet of water, and you're casting to the tree line, which could be anywhere from inches deep to, it depends if you're fishing against like a flooded forest, it could be several feet deep at the tree line too. So, but not super deep. And
was the tree line like mangroves, or was it thicker? Was it, well, I don't know how.
It's not mangroves. No, I don't mean it's I don't know what they were. There's tons of different landscapes. I wish I had taken more pictures of the variety that we saw. Because there's some really cool, I think about it in my mind. I remember what I saw. I wish I had taken some pictures, because some of it looks like it could be the shoreline of a river up here and where we are in the Northeast, and other things is really jungle looking, some crazy looking stuff. But that's, and I mentioned in the video that, you're constantly getting stuck in the trees, and the guides were amazing in their ability to get those plugs out of the trees. I mean, they manipulate the braid, they put tension, they flick it, they do all these things, and we didn't lose one single lure in the trees the whole week. I mean, sometimes they have to motor over to the tree line and pull them out,
right.
But a lot of them, and we got good at it after doing it for a few days. We were able to free a lot more of our own than we were on the first day. So you learn some tricks, and I learned some tricks too for when I'm trying to fish at night here in the summer and I get stuck on the dock. I learned some things I might be able to do to get my jig head free.
I've gotten stuck on the docks, and boy, do the Karens and Darrens get upset when you do that.
They do.
Oh my God.
That's why fly fishing is better at night, because they don't hear you. You're not sending projectiles at people's docks.
Right. Yeah, I had, and what can you say? I was like, yes, I hit your dock. I'm so sorry. Right. I didn't mean to hit your dock. I'm sorry.
But the tree line is, you're going to get stuck on the trees, because that's where you want to be. You want to be, I'm just speaking, I don't know about your audience, where they might be from all over, but when we fish in New Jersey and we're throwing topwater lures at the sod banks, it's just like that. It's exactly like that, except instead of grass, it's trees. But I said to a couple of guys I know who fish topwater here in this area, you could go to the Amazon and you will instantly be able to do this kind of fishing. It's exactly the same. The only thing that's different is what's behind the water line. That's it.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is there, what were you doing differently? But it sounds like you were fishing for striped bass, or you're fishing for speckled trout or redfish right up against the marshes and the mangroves.
Yes. It's the same lures. I mean, the same. I caught my first, what a Smack It Junior is? You probably know what a Smack It Junior is. I caught my first wolfish on a Smack It Junior. I just I wanted to see what happened. but it's the same profile of lure, that same size, and it's the same walk the dog. We had to vary the retrieve a little bit. In the first couple of days, it was a very slow pace. We changed it up as the week went on, but yeah, I mean, anybody who can catch a topwater striped bass could instantly catch fish in the Amazon where I was.
I want to go.
Instruction, yeah.
Ed, you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah, you got money?
We'll look at your next trip, Eric.
Yeah, I want to go back. I want to go back, and I won't go back, and not this year for sure. Maybe late 2024 or early 2025, something like that. I do want to go back. I mean, especially what happened to me on that last day, it kind of planted the seeds, right? Yeah, I have to go back. But I really loved it, and after 6 days, like I said, we were exhausted, but I could have done another week.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
Like I had mentioned earlier, I know Erik a little bit, and he's not normal. He's like us. If you have a day to go fishing, he's putting in the full day to go fishing. That day that we went out and we couldn't make it out, but guys, Erik tried, man. He's like, let me see if I can get on top of this. And I'm like, on top of this, these waves are bigger than us. And we were flying for a little bit, and it took one hard hit, and we all just looked at each other and made it back in. Then we were out on the skiff catching tog. Was it that day, or was that the flounder day? Then we went for flounder.
I think we did both that day. Yeah,
we went through everything, and then we went for a tour in the back waters through all the marshes. So
right.
So with all that said, you have stuff that's unfinished down there at this point. Now that you lost that trophy.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a little bit every day, and I don't know. There's, like I said, Brazil is so giant, and it's like 80% of the United States. That's how big it is. So there's so many different river systems to consider. And I got to consider on my next time I go, if I want to do a trip where you have a chance at a real big trophy fish and you may not catch the numbers. There's also places you can go where you're going to get numbers. You're going to get 80, 70, 60, 70, 80, 90 fish a day. They may not exceed 5 pounds, but you're going to catch a lot. I got to consider if I want to try something like that. So there's other species, certain areas you go, certain countries. There's I don't know if I want to go for arapaima. I heard they're kind of like, they're big, but they don't do much.
So really?
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I don't know. I mean, I know,
it's like a sand tiger.
Yeah, but people may disagree. I know very little about them, but there's so many different options down there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I personally would probably go for the trophy now that you've already caught a bunch of fish, Yeah. For me, my first trip, I might want to go for the numbers just to get the variety and the experience, but
right. And I wanted to fly fish down there. The conditions did not allow it. I had my I did fly cast it a little bit. I didn't catch anything, but I would like to go where you get the numbers. You have a lot more opportunities to fly fish. So
right.
I would like to do that.
Did you do anything from land? Were you able to do it from the lodge, or was that just not in a good spot? There was just a river right on the middle of the river.
I mean, I tried. I just would play around in the morning while we were getting ready to go with my fly rod. There was fish, there was little fish. I don't know what they were. But they come up almost like a trout. They're sipping things. I tried to play around, but not really any land-based fishing. The beaches that we stopped at for lunch, you saw the pictures and the videos. I mean, I could have probably cast it off those beaches if I wanted to. They said that the peacocks do cruise back and forth along those points and those beaches, but I didn't try that.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this: if you couldn't go back to the Amazon, but you could go on another trip of a lifetime, which, let's be honest, for most people, this is a trip of a lifetime. You're talking about going back. Where else would you be going? Where have you not crossed off the bucket list yet?
Well, there's a guy that I fished with in November for false albies. He's a guide in North Carolina, and he just got back from he did a hosted trip to what's the I'm drawing a blank, where they catch the giant trevallies, not the Seychelles, he did it somewhere near the Seychelles.
Okay.
That looked incredible. I mean, that would be a pretty cool trip to do. Not just the Seychelles, they got those giant not just the giant trevallies, they got those big giant bonefish and those big triggerfish, and
the bonefish is what would draw me to any area. That's ever since watching, I forget who it was, one of those those Saturday morning
Like
saltwater.
Walker's K.
Yeah, it was probably Walker's K, actually. Yeah, watching them just go out for, I don't know if it was Walker's K, but going out for the bonefish was
Have you
what
caught
always
them?
got me. Have I caught one?
Bonefish?
So, Eric, this is my shame. I've only fished once in Florida in my life.
Okay.
So, no, the only thing that I've caught in Florida are pompano, jacks, and specks.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I'm a little obsessed with bonefish. I mean, they're really one of my favorite fish to catch. I mean, they are, they're not super. I mean, I wouldn't consider them like as hard to catch as a permit, but I mean, they can be a little spooky, obviously, but they're really, there's something about them. There's a lot of things about them, but they're one of my favorites.
Well, for me, I mean, it's so unsexy, but there's something about a weak fish for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It's people. There are a bunch of guys out there that don't want them, don't care, don't like them. I love targeting them.
Yeah.
Redfish are like that for me as well. The Florida guys and the Texas guys watching and listening to this, it's no big deal, but for us up here, it is a big deal to get on a redfish. But I would love to get on a bonefish.
Yeah. Well, Florida's, I mean, you can catch plenty, and the Keys is really good. Key Biscayne is my favorite place to fish. Yeah.
All right, Eric.
We're driving down in April, so.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So
we're not going to the Keys. We're going, where the heck are we going? It's on the Gulf Coast, just outside of Tampa.
Oh, there's a lot outside. It's like
a little bit north of Tampa. Crystal River, I think it is. Crystal Springs, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You can get your snook.
Snook and red, hopefully.
Yeah, you can beat me to the snook. I haven't gotten one. So we've only got a few minutes left, Eric.
Joe posted a good question. I know you don't have to get too personal, but for us streamers, what does something like this cost?
Well, I can give you, I can tell you a couple of different things. On the low end, you're probably looking at $3,000, $3,500 for the week, not excluding airfare. You got to get there. On the high end, I've seen some of these fly fishing only lodges that are $7,000, $8,000 for the week. So
fly fishermen, just throw a fly rod in, it's twice as expensive. They wouldn't have it any other way,
right? It depends where you want to go. There's all kinds of levels of comfort. The place I went, I was told that this is what Americans expect as far as accommodations. This fits that. This fits that bill. You can also get some pretty, some not so nice places, but I did not want to go bargain shopping on my first time going to Brazil. You don't want to get, and you want to have a reliable lodge, a reliable host. You don't, it's not a place you want to have trouble and, get stuck. I've read some stories. It's not a place to bargain shop.
No,
especially with the language barrier and everything else.
Right.
I mean, what's the point? Because you start bargain shopping, you're also bargain shopping the guides.
Exactly. Everything. Yeah.
I mean, so you get a little cheaper hotel. Maybe you can deal with it because you're just sleeping as soon as you get home. But I mean, you got the guide that doesn't know what he's doing. He takes you to the same spot every single day because he caught a fish there once.
Well, it's everything because the price you pay for the week is inclusive of your travel too. All the airport transfers, that charter flight to the jungle, the boat rides. So it's everything. So I mean, if you're considering going, go with someone who's reputable. And if you're paying $1,000 more for 7 days, what's that, like an extra $80, $120 a day? It's not that much. $10 an hour, it's worth it.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. $10 an hour, it's okay.
Well, Ed, I can get in on the $3,500 package. You in?
Eventually, yeah. I'd have to save.
Put away $50 a week until 2025, and you'll come back with me.
Yeah, sell some more jig heads or something.
Yeah,
there you go. That's all it's going to take. Man, I would definitely love to do this, Eric. I'm I want to make sure that people have your information so that they can check out the videos, the pictures, and all that stuff. As Joe said, for all of us dreamers out there, and Joe's saying we're probably never going to make it to this spot, so we want to live vicariously through our friend Erik now, and taking in the video and the pictures would be nice. So what are the channels, what are the pages, and how can people find them?
Well, let me just say this before I give you that, because I had this, it's an intimidating kind of trip to go on. At least it was for me. It's far. There's a lot of travel. I was in the middle of nowhere when I think about where I was, it's a little bit scary, but so much crazy stuff going on in the world. And if you can find a way to tuck away some money and it's not the kind of thing, I didn't want to be like, older and say, I wish I had gone to Brazil and never done it. So I'm glad I went. If you can, don't wait, you never know what's going to happen. So, it's easier said than done. I know it's not an inexpensive trip, but just keep that in mind. But anyway, for the, if you want to see some more detail about, some more pictures and some more explanation, my Instagram, I think, is what gives the best rundown of that. I've been posting for the last couple of weeks since I got home. So that's it's at Erik with a K, Erik, Cohen, Cohen 333. So if you check that out, there's a link to my YouTube channel there as well. That's probably the best place to jumpstart everything.
I really like the video also on the YouTube channel. So
I'm going to post on my Instagram. I'm going to make a post about that, just to get some people to see it.
I thought it was really interesting. I mean, you literally take everybody through the entire trip, from Pennsylvania to jumping in to head to the airport, all the way down and all the way through the trip. For full disclosure, I'm 3 minutes or a little over 3 minutes from the end of it, so I haven't seen the ending yet.
Okay. The ending was actually my favorite part, just because I did some. Did you get? I don't know if you got to the still photos, but I liked. I'm still learning how to edit that stuff. I'm not great at it, but I liked how the music fit in with the still photos, and I thought that was a cool part for me. I like I said, I watched a lot of videos leading up to my trip. I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos from guys who did these Amazon trips. So I copycatted them a little bit. I did the sequential events from leaving to getting there and the travel. I was curious about a lot of things. So if I was looking for that kind of video, it answered a lot of questions that I had. If I had that video before I went, it would have been good.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, now I understand how they work. There's the process, and I was looking at it, I'm like, well, there's no way he set up all these transfers and exchanges and everything. So they just did everything. And then when I saw the whole brigade of yellow shirts and the same hats, I was like, it's a nice group trip that he's not just meeting random people down there.
Yeah, let me just tell you, Lucas Sanchez, who owns Jungle Fishing, he's the host. He set everything up. So he and his Instagram is at jungle_fishing_. So check out his page too, because he doesn't only go to the lodge that we went to. He does a couple different ones. So you may find, if you're looking, you may find something that suits more what you're looking for. But I can't understate or overstate. I can't overstate the value that he provided. As a host, it just, I didn't even have to do anything. You didn't have to think about anything when you were there. Everything was taken care of from start to finish. And Lucas is an awesome fisherman too. I mean, he caught some really nice fish that week. But he's probably on my level or above as far as his craziness on these peacock bass. He really loves it.
That's great. Well, that's probably what drove him to do this.
Absolutely.
You got to get as many people on them as possible.
Yes. That's
great. Ed, anything you wanted to add in before we wrap it up?
No, I think we've nailed pretty much every question I had, so I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot, but they're probably not all questions that everybody wants to. Erik, sometime we can sit down and have a beer and
for sure. I mean, if people have questions and if you go to my Instagram and follow me and you send me a message, I'll answer it. I'm pretty good with that. So I'm happy to. I like to talk about it, so you don't think that you're bothering me. I don't. Nobody wants to hear this stuff in my house, so I got to talk to you guys about it.
That's what we're here for, Erik.
Yeah,
that's what this live stream is. This is where all of us who are just way too addicted to fishing just get to share experiences and be with other crazy people.
Yes.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So
that's why I was happy to come on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So
I've been holding it in for a month.
yeah, well, no longer. And I'm going to go back and watch it again. I'm going to watch the video again after I finish it. It's just, this is what Ed, and I give Ed the credit because he was the one who brought it up first. He sent me a link to a similar type of video that was done, which was just a trip that some guys took, and they documented it. It wasn't as much fishing in it, but
okay,
it was like that. And he said, "Don't you think this is something that people would want to see?" And I was like, you know what, this is awesome. This really is. And we really couldn't find the right person to come on, but man, a trip to the Amazon, you got a video out on it, and I already know you, and I know that you're a fishy dude, and you're all over the fish, and you'll do whatever you need to do to get on them. What a perfect fit. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing with everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited now to start my local topwater bass season. So gotta maybe slow down my retrieve a little bit and choose the lures that I usually use here. But I do want to try some of these Amazon lures in New Jersey. I think they'll work. I mean, they're the same. This is a mullet. This is a mullet. This is a peanut bunker. So I'm pretty sure they'll work. I don't see why they wouldn't. But it'll be ffun to catch one of the striper on a Brazil lure.
Absolutely, and I like those rattles. Those rattles in the rivers or in the spring are going to be awesome because I'll tell you what, the rivers. I was out there today and it was terrible. I mean, the visit. Well, again, it just rained. And it was substantial rain, but it was terrible visibility in that water again today. It was to the point where I really didn't even fish much. I hit the water and didn't fish much. I was watching bald eagles all day.
Nice. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's the only reason I actually got on the water. Once I saw it, and I was like, well, the forecast was wrong. And then I looked at the water. I was like, this is terrible. And then a bald eagle flew over top, and it came down and it scooped something out of the water and flew away. I was like, I'll go on the water. So I followed it around a little bit. So, all right, guys. So thank you everybody for joining in and watching this one with us tonight or listening on the podcast. We are not announcing yet the guest for next week, still working on nailing that down. But Erik, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you guys.
And everybody else. Yeah. Until next time, get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.